here and there, which I was able to do at Eastlake. And I just feel like that I've improved a lot in the past about 12, 14 months. But more than anything, I've just proven to myself that I can play at this level again.
There's little question he can, and we've seen him do it. We saw him close at the British Open last year, close at the PGA. What does he need to do to put it together this weekend here?
Well, first, I like the way Tiger talks. He looks sincere and honest in those answers. We've talked all week long about driving has always been the issue with Tiger, which sets up the rest of the golf course. But lately this year, he's driven it very nicely. He's 52nd on tour, ranked in driving accuracy. The putting has let him down. And what's so important here at Augusta National, second shots, but always putting. So we're just going to have to wait and see. If he makes a few early, the confidence will build.
And so is that, would you say, something we can look for today? Is that even as early as Thursday, the way he's putting is really the key to watch?
Well, he's not going to have to make every putt, but I think more importantly is just don't miss anything that you're supposed to make if you're going to win here this week. Don't get frustrated. See how he carries himself, confidence during the day. And that's true with everybody this week.
Now, the golf season began a long time ago, but I know for many, you really start paying attention this week. So let me catch you up on some of the things that have happened so far this year as we head into this playing of the Masters. In this season, 9 of the current top 10 ranked players in the world have won events, and you see some of the legendary names there, including Dustin Johnson, Rory McIlroy among the favorites here this week. Amongst the current top 10 in the world golf rankings, there are no Masters champions, so someone will come out of nowhere perhaps to win there first. And the last 4 major Masters champions, I should say, made this their first ever major championship. So one to keep an eye on there perhaps is Ricky Fowler, and the course plays 40 yards longer this year than it has in years past, and all 40 of those come on number 5. They moved the tees back those 40 yards, and there is a new schedule for the playing of the majors this year. They've moved the PGA Championship from where it was at the end of August into May, about a month from now, so we'll be second in the line, and we will have one each of the next 3 months going forward from here. So the conversation always begins with Tiger, and then in your mind, where does it go from there? What else are you watching most closely?
Well, we've talked about all these top players that are playing well. We have Dustin Johnson, Justin Rose, who I think is going to be there at the end of Sunday. You have Rory, you have Koepka, Justin Thomas. But, the storyline that we really haven't talked a lot about is Jordan Spieth, somebody who's been so dominant here for the last 5 years.
If I told you that Jordan Spieth over the last 5 years is 12 shots better on this golf course than anyone else in the world, and that includes a second-place finish, a first-place finish, a year in which he was leading easily, and then we all know what happened to him on 12, and last year he shot 64 on Sunday at the end. Do you think he has a chance to make this a remarkable turnaround?
Well, I just don't know the depth of his problems. I do know that he's really driving it poorly. Of the 214 players qualifying for stats on tour, he's 212 in driving accuracy. That's not very good. But you can get away with some, driving erratic out here at Augusta because it is
More for the Masters to come, but we're back in New York with the NBA. Exit interviews for the Lakers on Wednesday as they look to pick up the pieces after the shocking departure of Magic Johnson Tuesday night. LeBron James not on hand yesterday, and neither Luke Walton or Rob Pelinka spoke. So as for the players who did, they were all caught off guard, just like all of us.
To be honest, I was a little bit shocked, just like everybody else was. It wasn't, predicted or, nobody had, that on their minds. But, we say it all the time with the players. It's no different from front office or anybody. The one thing you can do in life is to do what's best for you. And for Magic, he's Magic Johnson. he doesn't need to prove to anybody anything, and he just made the best decision for him. I think it shocked me like it did the rest of the world, but it's what's best for him. I wish him the best. He drafted me, and this is better for his life, and that's what he wants to do. I'm gonna support 100%.
Okay, let's welcome in NBA insider Adrian Wojnarowski. And Woj, it's been about 36 hours since Magic abruptly walked off as the president of the Lakers. What are people saying about the atmosphere over there right now?
Well, the word I heard yesterday around that facility was awkward. You had Rob Pelinka, who's the general manager of the team, in exit meetings with Luke Walton. And Luke Walton knew very well that Magic Johnson and Rob Pelinka were planning to fire him yesterday. And that all changed. Luke Walton went from not even being scheduled to be a part of the exit conversations with the players to sitting in there with his general manager and still trying to figure out what's his future with the organization.
Yeah, there were reports that the Lakers were shocked by the move. Do you have any sense, and as you mentioned, Luke Walton, once they've regained their footing, if they put together any kind of plan to move forward and what that looks like?
They're still trying to formulate that, Laura. Luke Walton has next year on his contract and then a team option for 2021. And they've got to decide as an organization how they're going to go forward. Who's going to really be making the basketball decisions? Is it going to be Rob Pelinka, the general manager? Are they going to go out onto the marketplace and look to hire, a sitting general manager somewhere else in the league or somebody else who's not working, who's available? Those are the questions facing Jeannie Buss here. And Luke Walton's future is going to be dependent a lot on what kind of management decision they make with L.A.
All right, thanks so much, Woj. Great information and reminder, a special playoff preview edition of Woj and Lowe, 3:30 Eastern on ESPN2. You definitely want to check that out, as now we are set for the playoffs. Those guys will break it all down. But we have Dominique Foxworth and Jalen Rose here. And, Nick, I want to start with you because you didn't really get a chance to comment on this yesterday. We're going to spin it forward, but just your initial reaction as we're still sort of basking in the shock that was Magic walking away.
Man, obviously I was shocked like everyone else, but honestly I came away feeling like happy for Magic. Like, get out of there. You don't want to be there, don't be there. And he actually, in my opinion, he set the Lakers up in a decent position. He left them better than he found them. So while what he did yesterday was unprofessional, you should talk to your boss first before you leave. I don't think it really changes anything. It just makes us look at him and say, maybe you should have gave her a call before you did this. But if you don't want to be there, get out. And now they have LeBron James locked up for 3 years with a player option, and they have a bunch of expiring contracts, so they have room to get somebody else. So I feel like that's a better position than they were in before Magic took it.
And this was unique for the Lakers brand, which is a storied one. LeBron James, who's an iconic, powerful individual on and off the floor. However, there's one person that he's not more powerful than. That's Magic Johnson.
Right.
And that card got pulled. And the vet move that Magic actually did was he made sure he tweeted, "Thank you, Jeannie.
Yeah.
Thank you, Rob. Thank you, Luke. Thank you, players." So now any changes that get made ain't on me.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm surprised
it wasn't my call.
He's
Is that,
fully
do you
taking himself out.
read anything into the fact that LeBron didn't get a personal shout out there too? Because if anybody deserves a
He's a
personal shout
player,
out,
though.
I know that's not a personal shout out. Like he also said, all the people who work for the organization, which Rob Pelinka falls under that, and Jeannie falls under that also. But LeBron didn't get a personal shout out. I found that interesting, particularly because LeBron has made it commonplace to do 1 year with the player option, 1 year with the player option, and because of how the Cavaliers kind of did him dirty in the first contract when he signed long-term deals. I wonder how he feels now. He finally gave someone a real commitment, and a year later, the organization is turned upside down.
And how about this if you're Magic? LeBron James does not go to L.A. if Magic isn't pitching him and recruiting him. So now to your point, you get him to sign a 3-year deal, and they don't make the playoffs, and Magic just walks away. LeBron still got to play there for 2 more years.
With that bait and switch.
There we go.
With that bait and switch.
So it's interesting because everyone keeps talking about they're picking up the pieces. We understand that. This is probably going to take a little bit of time for the Lakers to figure out exactly what they want to do here. But what do you think they're going to do? Not what should they do, but what do you think Jeannie Buss actually does here with Luke Walton, with Rob Pelinka?
I think with all things equal, Luke Walton returns as the head coach.
Wow.
For a couple of reasons. One, he didn't do a bad job. If you look at the stats that the Lakers were poor in, 3-point shooting, free throw shooting, and turnovers. Those are all roster issues, not necessarily performance issues. And when you have a bunch of veterans on one-year deals, and you have a bunch of young players on rookie deals, there's no level of investment because none of those guys except LeBron realize they're coming back next year.
I mean, you're absolutely right. That's a good point. I think you could argue that turnovers could be on the coach, but I think by and large, it's hard to say that Luke Walton was the problem. And if Jeannie likes him, it seemed like Magic was implying that part of his issue with Jeannie was a disagreement over Luke Walton. But I think what they should do is, and what LeBron should do, is he should take over. Like, they need to hand the keys over. Everyone's going to assume anyway that he has his finger in all these decisions. Like, he really should, for the first time, step into this vacuum and fill it the way that he wants to, because he's the only one whose legacy is going to be improved or harmed by this. No one else cares about anyone.
I see what you're saying. The one thing about LeBron, though, if you notice in the past, he never puts himself fully on something.
I think this is the time when he should.
I get it, but he doesn't want to be responsible either. You know?
Absolutely.
He is, whether he wants to be or not.
If it doesn't work out.
How about these degrees of separation? The leadership in Miami starts with Pat Riley, who coached Magic Johnson during the Showtime era. You know that they're friends and they're confidants. The level of autonomy that LeBron James has in Cleveland to make the power moves you guys talk about, that's not happening in Miami, and it will not happen in L.A. Hence, Magic Johnson walking away without consulting LeBron. How about them picking a coach? Now, LeBron's going to be going into his 17th season. So are we talking rebuild or are we talking about reload? Now, who is that going to be with? Because I don't think any of the top-level free agents are going to go to L.A. So why fire the coach, pay him $5 million not to coach, and then bring somebody else in and pay them $5 million to coach and invest $10 million in the coaching spot?
It's all crazy. Plenty more on this later on in the show. But let's run the floor because we do want to get you caught up on the seeding now that it's set. We start with the West in the NBA. Denver ending their game on a 15-0 run to rally past the Timberwolves, clinching the 2 seed in the Western Conference. Jalen, how much confidence do you have in the Nuggets entering the postseason?
I have so much confidence that I'll say definitively, either Denver or OKC will face the Golden State Warriors in the conference finals. So will the young team Denver with home court advantage, who's beaten Oklahoma City 3 or 4 times this year, be able to prevail versus the veterans like Russell Westbrook and Paul George? It's going to be great to see in the second round.
Now, despite resting all of their starters, playing only 6 players, and falling behind as many as 28 points, the Trailblazers rallied back, defeating the Kings, and in doing so, that means they finished 3rd in the West. So how big of a deal is it that Portland jumps the Rockets to that 3 seed, Jalen?
It's a big deal. Here's why, Laura. It's the difference between the Rockets playing the Golden State Warriors in the conference finals or in the second round. You got to find a way to get that done if you're Houston. But props to Portland because we always overlook them. But last year and this year, they finished as top 3 seed in the West.
Russell Westbrook, your dude, tied Magic Johnson for the 2nd most triple-doubles in NBA history. The Thunder wrap up the 6th seed with the win last night. It was an up-and-down season for OKC, but which team do you expect to see in the playoffs? The really good OKC or maybe the not-so-good?
The really good OKC team that didn't finish 8th. So therefore, they don't have to play the Warriors in the second round. They did finish 6th, so they don't have to play the Rockets in the second round. This really shapes up for the Oklahoma City Thunder if they can make perimeter shots to make a long run in this playoff run.
Yeah, and as you might expect, and if you remember, the Warriors clinched the 1 seed on Sunday. They have an 89% chance to beat the Clippers in the first round, according to BPI. Our model also favors Denver over San Antonio, Portland, and Portland over OKC, and Houston over Utah. So, as we look at all of this, first round matchup, you're most excited to watch, Mr. Rose?
Well, that Portland and OKC one's going to be really interesting because those are 2 teams that seem to not like one another. You have Dame Dollar and C.J. McCollum in the backcourt going against Russell Westbrook and Paul George. And I just overlooked Portland again when I just saw that they're the favorite to actually win that series.
According to BPI.
According to BPI, they're going to be without Nurkic. They're going to get more minutes from Enes Kanter. Terry Stotts does a terrific job coaching Portland. That's the matchup that I'm looking forward to seeing.
The BPI had me thinking for a hot second.
BPI messed you up.
that maybe Houston is going to have a little trouble in that first round matchup. But I don't believe that's going to be the case. I'm with you. I think watching the only matchup in the first round that I actually think could go either way is that Portland OKC one because I think Portland is underrated. But OKC is not going into the playoffs feeling hot right now. They have not been playing well towards the end of the season. And Russell Westbrook is a type of boomer bust player because when he's bad, as he was early in the season, he's really bad. And I don't know if Paul George is enough to lift them up if Russell is not playing at his best.
Okay, as we continue with the West bracket, which player do you think makes the biggest impact in the first round?
I would have to say I'm going with Dame Lillard because here's what ends up happening. Indiana falls into this category, too. You look at the standings, they top 4, top 5. We never talk about them. Portland was number 3 last year. They got swept in the first round by the Pelicans, who are not in the playoffs this year.
Yeah.
So if Dame can still channel his all-NBA performances against Russell, because Russell's going to be trying to take him to the post a lot and try to take advantage of his size, if Dame can be dominant in that series, he probably can lift his team further than he was able to last year.
I would say Jokic. Nikola Jokic would be another one that I think would stick out. What about you?
Yeah, I'm going to stick with that Portland series because I think it's Russell Westbrook, because it goes back to what I just said, is he is such a pivotal piece. And if he plays well and he makes Dame or whoever they're going to have him, McCollum, whoever's going to guard him on the other end, makes them work and saps their energy on the opposite side of the court, I think that means a lot. If he's not able to make them work, then I think that OKC could be in trouble.
And here's one of the things with Portland that allows teams to have success against them. Their wings don't create offense or score a lot, like Aminu and Harkless. So guys like Paul George get a chance to rest on D when he's not playing against C.J. McCollum, and that allows them to load up offensively and continue to attack without necessarily being in foul trouble.
It's going to be interesting to see if anyone can beat the Warriors at all, like even in one game.
I know, but I'm telling you, this worked out great for me as a fan because I wanted to see the Warriors end up having to face potentially the Rockets, which they're probably going to do in the second round, and possibly OKC, which they'll do in the conference finals. Those will be emotional, physical series if they win against both of those spots.
But you still think Golden State's going all the way, though,
Yeah,
right?
they are.
Everyone always talks about how the West is going to be tougher than it used to, but I haven't heard anybody yet say that they're going to lose.
We're good there. Plenty more to come from these guys in the show, and another meeting between Kyler Murray and the Cardinals. How could that affect a number of teams? We'll explain that coming up on Get Up. And Russell Wilson gave the Seahawks a deadline for a new deal. Will he end his career in Seattle? The latest from Adam Schefter is ahead. We're just getting started on Get Up. Stay tuned. We'll be with you
Lord, you
all
told
day
us a while ago that Murray was going number 1.
Look at that.